G'day tubes, Bruce here. Well, I'm harvesting apples today. Some of them are falling to the ground, which means they're getting ready. The seeds are almost dark in some of the real red ones, but in the green ones, we'll show you that later, the seeds aren't getting dark. So they're not as big as what we'd like, but we had such a rough winter that I think that this is going to be great. There goes one on the ground right now. So they're really a sweet apple that aren't too tart, like a crab apple is too tart. And that's usually the only apples that are in this country. And no, they're good. That's not a bad little apple except for the size. So we'll get, I don't know, depending on how far I go, we'll get 10 or 15 gallons of apples today. But there's a lot of them. It's always a good day when you can harvest something. But I pick the lower ones first so that I don't beat the heck out of them when I move up to the higher branches. So it's apple day. They should pick a little easier than that, but they're falling off the tree, so that tells me that we're ready. Oh, it's time for dessert. So that's about the size of a Mac. This is one of the bigger ones off that tree, right there. And I'm just going to have dessert. It's a nice shot. Hi guys. Well, we pretty much got 20 gallons of apples here because I think I've dropped 5 gallons of apples and broken twigs. But here's why I picked, if you look really close there, the seeds are just turning, and I probably had about a 5% of the apples on the tree drop to the ground. Now this one was a funny year. Some of the apples were really hard to pick off, and other ones just fell off in my hands. So for around here, when the weather can change from good to bad in a matter of days, it doesn't hurt to get them off. So I scientifically sorted these. We got the bigger ones, and then the rest. Well, good day, tubes. Well, this is the 5-gallon pail of the bigger apples, although they're not that big. And I left them out overnight, and we got a tiny bit of rain, which has moistened up the apples, which I don't think is a good thing. I think you're supposed to store them dry. But I'm gonna press forward. Now, throughout the year, I save apple bags, and I just put the tag on the bag after it's empty, and I shove them into a corner of the pantry. And I save as many as I can, and then some of these are probably 2 years old. And I just put the better apples, the ones that you just love to eat, in bags in the crisper in the fridge and in the fridge downstairs. And then we give away some and bake with some and whatever. So now I'm just going to make up a few apple bags and put them in the fridge. It's not technical, but I am going to wipe off the moisture off of these, most of the moisture. So you guys might remember, if you follow my channel, that I got a heck of a hailstorm about a month ago, and this apple has received quite a few wounds. That's a picking wound, that one, but this apple was probably out in the open. So tubes, as you can see, I use bags from just about any source. As long as they've got holes punched in them, I use them. And so now what I've done is I've taken a bread bag and I've actually punched holes in the bread bag with a hole punch. just to let the apples breathe and they don't rot. So I'll continue on. It's starting to rain. Okay, tubes, this is where we're just letting the apples dry out a little bit. There's a small amount of moisture, but the bags will breathe. This is probably altogether about 15 gallons of apples, and the other 5 gallons is in a pail in the garage. They're the smaller ones. A pal of mine wants to take them and make apple pies out of them. So in here we also have my basil, just a very small amount of the basil, and the oregano hanging, and a little tiny bit of rosemary hanging in here too. So the shed is a useful place. I don't want to store the apples in here for more than a day because they give off some gases. But we'll get them in the cold room and in the fridge.